for your kind words. You made me sound like this guy just kept showing up. No, but I really did. I wanted to be as much a part of it as possible, and it's such a testament to Jen and Thomas's collaborative nature, because it's not always the case. I think I've had experiences with writers / showrunners in the past that have been very guarded, very removed, very gatekeepy, and I think every creative has their own kind of version of why they are the way that they are and how collaborative they are. But for what it's worth, for me, it was just a really welcoming environment. And then just on a broader spectrum, like why I fell in love with the show even from day one. I remember that Zoom call with you, Thomas, and with James, and Atomic, and just pitching that show for the first time. And first of all, just as I don't know if you guys know, but I am Asian. But I grew up without really seeing kind of Asian Americans, watching Asian Americans fight for America on screen. I know it's such a very specific thing, but it is. I think it's emblematic of just this baseline level of do we what do we need to do in order to truly feel American and accepted? And I say this as a Canadian. I know you guys know that I'm trying to work with me here. But we know that Asian Americans have served in the military and have served this country, have died for this country. One of the most decorated, if not the most decorated regiment in U.S. military history is called the 442nd Regiment, which was comprised primarily of Japanese Americans who had been interned during the Second World War. So during the Second World War, Japanese Americans were forcibly removed from their homes and put in internment camps, because obviously Japan was part of the not so good side. And so, as a response to that, the U.S. government said, well, it doesn't matter if, you're American, if you're an American citizen, if you have Japanese heritage, we're rounding you up and we're throwing you into a camp. And I don't have to tell you why that's important for me to say today, but the children who grew up in these camps, when it came time, when an opportunity came to volunteer for this country that, for all intents and purposes, had turned their backs on them, they volunteered by the droves. And they volunteered because I think they were so sick and tired of feeling like, nobody saw them as being loyal to their country, and I think they wanted to prove that point for themselves, and I think they wanted to prove that so that their children and their children's children could grow up in a world in which they felt American because they deserved to be, and so, it's one thing to get a script that was written non-specific and to say, oh, we decided to make this part Asian, and it's another altogether to say we spent a really, really long time trying to figure out why this character is Asian and what that, how the importance of that casting bled into, elements of the show beyond just the culture. And Alexander's background is so important. His journey and coming from an immigrant family and feeling like he never fully belonged. I mean, it's so crucial to his character arc. And it's something that, Thomas, you, as a non-Asian man, you did a spectacular job of weaving into the pilot. And so, having that first conversation with you and James, I was blown away, and I knew that I had to be a part of it.